naman dyan sa atin. Eto na, magwi-weekend na nga eh. Kakatapos ko lang, dami natin trabaho kanina. Nagturo tayo ng class, ilang oras, nagsulat tayo ng article sa mga others. Tapos eto na, papunta na tayo sa gym, get the energy going. And then later, of course, ready na sana. Mga kameta, mamaya may podcast pa kami ni Dr. Leloy Claudio will be joining me from UC Berkeley. Of course, online, pag-usapan natin yung mga latest sa Pilipinas, especially yung pagbisita ng ating Pangulo sa Estados Unidos to the White House next week. Actually, on the way na yata over the weekend, no? So, pag-usapan natin sana yan. So, sabi ko, punta akong gym, get some exercise going, and then, boom! Puya ka siya! Pag-check ko dito ng ano ko, ano sinasabi na ito? Nausapan, drama, hanash, di ba? So ako naman sabi ko, I'm very polite, I'm very nice, di ba? Nakita na naman yung post natin sa Facebook, sinabi lang natin, first of all, mga kameta, let me get some basic facts clear, no? Pagdating sa mga publications na katulad ng Nikkei Asia, or all of these major publications where I write regularly, mga kameta, ito mga reputable publications na yan, you can only get published there if, well, first of all, medyo dapat established ka sa field mo, may ambag ka sa buhay, may K ka, but more importantly, lahat yan naka-fact check. It goes through very, very thorough editorial process. And then, especially sa Nikkei Asia, one of the things I like with them is that when I write there, I make sure the prose is extremely objective, is extremely balanced, walang drama, walang chika, walang marites, walang pa-cute, walang pa-blogger style. No, really the prose is as balanced as possible. Essentially, world-class style writing. Yun po yung ginagawa natin. Now, in other places, for instance, I tend to be a little bit more playful, especially dun sa columns ko on Philippine Daily Inquirer. But dito, guys, seryosong usapan to. So, when I talk about Nikkei Asia, actually, it's the biggest financial magazine on earth, one of the biggest current affairs magazine on earth. I think it's the mother company of Financial Times. I think, sana, diba? Yung iba kung gusto na mag-criticize sa mga politicians natin, don't forget where these publications coming out of. No? Hindi ito mga marites Times, hindi itong mga, you know what I'm saying, yung mga tabi-tabi dyan, di ba? No, these are very serious stuff. So that's the first thing. Second, what I find fascinating here is that there are people who are trying to portray us as some sort of bias and all, when in fact, they see very clearly that I'm giving credit where credit is due. In fact, not only to one Marcos, but both sides, if it's based on facts and evidence and on a specific issue of national concern, when I think they're doing well. So, for instance, when it comes to Marcos Jr., throughout many articles, I mentioned that I think he's doing relatively well when it comes to redirecting our foreign policy towards revitalizing traditional alliances para hindi tayo masyadong vulnerable sa West Philippine Sea. Having said that, mga kameta, here sa Facebook natin, na-postin natin, for instance, when Senator Amy Marcos questioned, for instance, kung mga EDCA bases na yan, especially mga sa North, sa Cagayan, sa Isabela, whether this is the best for us, whether this is going to help us with the AFP modernization, whether this is going to help us with West Philippine Sea. Actually, I supported that intervention. I'm on the record, na post natin dito at sinabi natin mga kameta, this is actually important because yes, I agree with Senator Amy Marcos that we have to make sure that any EDCA plan or EDCA expansion plan should be geared towards modernization of the armed forces of the Philippines and not further dependence on the United States. As important is to make sure we don't unnecessarily provoke China and we don't get unnecessarily dragged into other theaters of conflict, especially Taiwan. At the same time, nakita niyo rin mga kameta dun sa conversations natin, including yung mga podcast natin with Ambassador Maldo sa United States, I also share the point of view of the administration when it comes to the need for preparation, for the need for deterrence. So I try to be as balanced as possible. Now, the other thing I do, mga kameta, when I write for international publications, is I want to show how the Philippines is a very dynamic and a very interesting country. Kasi ayoko when I see foreigners, yung mga hindi based sa Pilipinas at all, yung mga, alam mo na, people who see the Philippines in a very caricaturish way. Ayoko yung ganon. Ayoko ng ganon. Because the Philippines is a dynamic society. There are many, many alignments and realignments. There are many, many points of shifts and transformation and pivot points. So what I try to do in my articles is to show the evolution in the Philippines, the competitive field, the fact that democracy is still alive. So yun po yung konteksto po ng sinusulat natin. And I just thought it's also important to point out to, our audience internationally, kasi yung iba sinasabi nila, oh, Marcos na yung president ng Philippines again, oh, baka Philippines is another banana republic, Philippines is dictatorship. No, I was just saying actually that's not the case. In fact, if anything, one of the major critics of some of the policies of the president, especially in EDCA, is actually, the elder sister, just to point out how dynamic, how vibrant the situation in the Philippines is. Having said that, mga kameta, of course, we have no illusions about the issues with lack of rule of law, issues with accountability for what happened under the previous administrations, problems with public service, issues with inflation, yes. But we are also trying to show how dynamic the political landscape in the Philippines is. I also pointed out dun sa response natin kay paring Daryl that even on other issues, actually, I shared the point of view of Amy Marcos when it comes, for instance, to RCEP. In fact, if anything, na-mention natin in other articles and in other posts, and I think at least one vlog, that from my understanding, both Bongbong Marcos, as the Agriculture Secretary, and Amy Marcos had concerns about joining the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, because katulad ng sinabi natin sa isang vlog, ang problema natin is when sumasali tayo sa international free trade agreements and then hindi tayo prepared, kawawa yung mga sectors na vulnerable, lalong-lalo na yung agriculture sector. So actually, when Senator Amy Marcos abstained from voting in favor of RCEP, nag-abstain vote siya, that was actually an interesting thing. That was a good thing. And I think we share similar points of view. Now, on other issues, maybe I don't share the same point of view, and I think many of you are very familiar with these issues. And also on EDCA, for instance, I agree on a certain issue, on certain aspects of the debate. I don't agree on the other aspects of the debate. I think in any democracy, in any civilized modern country, we are different people with different points of view, and let's debate that in a healthy manner, etc. Kapatid, hindi kapatid, that's not the issue, mga kameta. So what I'm saying here is, mga kameta, is if you have an issue with a publication of mine on a world-class platform, don't go on and try to, marites your way out of this kung dahil hindi mo lang nagustuhan yung isang sinabi ko, etc. Go ahead. Go and get published also in a top publication. If talaga may point ka, magaling ka, go ahead. No one is stopping you, right? And sana naman, at the very least, wag naman yung bastusan or gumamit ng mga kung ano-anong word, etc. I'm very polite, etc. Yes, mga kameta, sutil ako minsan. I say this, I say that. But at the end of the day, mga kameta, we wanna have a healthy discussion. Kitang-kita niyo naman, mga kameta, ang daming mga umatak sa akin because I give credit where credit is due to President Marcos Jr. I think he's doing well on this side. But there are also other issues where I don't agree with him or with other politicians, etc. It is just what it is. I address these issues on a case-to-case basis, and at the same time, very clear tayo dun sa gusto natin para sa ating bayan, mga kameta, di ba? And kahapon, of course, meron din tayo very polite and interesting podcast discussion with Teddy Casino, who, has certain points of view on EDCA that I don't share, but also has certain point of view on the need for more self-reliance by the Philippines, the need for making sure not to depend on US, that I share, for instance. So yun lang gusto ko, mga kameta. Level up na tayo. Level up na tayo, mga kameta. Huwag na tayo mga katulad ng mga bata dito, di ba? Yung mga trollish, tapos sabihin niya, dilawan, ganyan, atakin, ganyan, all this partisan, nonsensical, tagging, etc. As I said, go ahead. Publish on Nikkei Asia, publish on New York Times, publish on all of these places that have been published, right? Because you're not gonna get published in these places kung purong marites lang sasabihin or kabastusan, right? As I said, I am very polite. I respond in a very polite way. I'm not in the mood for bardagulan, but I had to make certain things very clear. When I write an article here, is because I want to emphasize the importance of a specific issue. Mga kameta, when it comes to our foreign policy, when it comes to EDCA, when it comes to sa ating relasyon sa Amerika at China, ito po ay napakamahalagang issue. So sana hindi natin idaan ito sa kabastusan or name-calling or yung mga, all that nonsense, right? You have a disagree with me on the EDCA issue, go ahead, make your argument. But make sure, first of all, you understand the EDCA issue, and second, you know what I'm talking about. Because mga kameta, I've written at least 20 articles on EDCA over the past few months, and so because I'm constantly sharpening my analysis, constantly getting updates. Nakausap po natin si Ambassador Romualdez, nakausap po natin yung mga tao sa AFP, nakausap po natin nakausap natin sila Teddy Casino from the other side na hindi sangayon. So I try to be absolutely fair. I try to create a room for discussion precisely because I know these are very important issues. And as I said, I may have certain points of disagreement, whether with the president, with IME, whether sometimes with the opposition, sometimes with, clearly with the previous administration, among others. But there are other issues that I agree with President Duterte, for instance, on the issue for Bangsamoro, for instance, more autonomy to our Muslim brothers and sisters. I agreed with the president on that. I agreed with President Duterte that there's greater need for infrastructure investment. So please lang, yung mga iba dyan, diba? Don't drag me into your nonsense parties and stuff like that because I'm already being attacked on multiple sides precisely because I argue based on evidence, facts, and all. Now, yes, once in a while I do bar the gulan, etc. just because I want to remind some other people there na hindi ako mga snowflake lang na pakit lang dito. I believe 100% in my convictions. I fought so hard for whatever platform I have. I showed strength, I showed courage before all of these trolls and all of these hyenas, all these years have been trying to troll me. I stood my ground, mga kameta. And that's the reason why marami tayong mga kameta dito. Dahil nakita nila Nakita nila hindi lang sinseridad. Nakita nila na palaban tayo. But I'm not here to fight. I'm here, mga kameta, to have a proper discussion. Kaya kanina tuwan-tuwa ako sa class namin. Dun sa isang graduate school na tinuturo ko. Sa UP lang naman, diba? Sa UP lang naman. No, diniscuss namin detail about EDCA, different dimensions, the pros and the cons, etc. Sana one day we can have more of this discussion. Alam mo bakit sayang? Because actually there are a lot of people who would say, first of all, people like Daryl actually have a big platform. They have also a lot of followers. Pangalawa, actually some of the people would say, I don't want to name names, but these are actually good people I respect. They said, actually in fairness kay Daryl, may talent din yan, di ba? Okay. So my point is sana, we use our platforms, we use our talents, whatever, to have a proper analysis of important issues. At Daryl, I don't know how much you really know about this EDCA, foreign policy issues, etc. As I said, I actually agree with IMU on the point of making sure that EDCA will help AFP modernization. I don't think President BBM is actually against that per se, but nevertheless, I see the apprehensions of Senator Amy Marcos. I also understand the apprehensions of Senator Amy Marcos on the RCEP issue. I share the apprehensions about it, and I actually share those apprehensions separately from her. In parallel, nakataon lang parasing take namin on that. So when I write these things, this is really about my analysis as a foreign policy person on these issues. Alright? And please lang, yung mga gusto mag-question ng credentials natin, my analysis has been sought not only by the top platforms and all around the world, but arguably by the most prestigious diplomat in the 20th century, right? And up to now, actually, 21st century instances. So, please lang, alright? Now, my sense though is, siguro si Daryl medyo na-apekto na siya dun sa term na ginamit ko na revisionist. Now, first of all, when it comes to the label of revisionist, dun sa, alam mo na, this is not my opinion per se. This is actually the stance of all serious historians and experts out there. So, silang kausapin mo, wag ako. I'm just reflecting what's out there, mga kameta. Alright. The other thing, mga kameta, ayan, may troll na. Ayan, Alexander Da Vinci, obviously troll ka, balikan kita. Alright. Palis na yan. Mga kameta, bahala na kayo dyan, ha? Ayan tayo. Sige lang. No. The thing also with revision is actually, sabi ko nga, I think the term revision is actually inaccurate because in social sciences and historiography, if anyone is familiar with this, sometimes revisionist, when you say revisionist history, it's not necessarily, it doesn't mean it's wrong. So for instance, there are new theories about origins of Second World War, but they're based on new archival evidence, right? Or new disclosed confidential information. Let's say from the National Archives or National Security Archives of France, Russia, so on and so forth, right? Or there are new studies about origins of Stalinism or Soviet Union because it's based on new scholarship based on some of the declassified new archives. Or new studies, for instance, on Vietnam War, origins of Vietnam War, based on new declassified studies. So actually, mga kameta, technically speaking, revisionist doesn't necessarily mean bad. Kaya nga sabi ko, in fact, using the term revisionist could be a compliment or being too polite about it. Some other experts and historians would say that, no, we're not talking about revisionism, we're talking about denialism of some of the horrible things that happened in the past. So I'm just saying, first of all, I think we have to properly understand what the concept of revisionism is all about. What is the academic implications of revisionism? And let's understand why all serious historians would, describe certain productions as revisionist. Now, so mukhang yun lang talaga yung issue dito. Because on other issues, I don't think, I just fairly reflected, ito yung point ni ganito, ito yung point ni ganito. I said on RCEP na nga, actually, the need for AF modernization, I think I see completely where Senator Amy Marcos is coming. I don't mind having conversation with Senator Amy Marcos on foreign policy issues, etc. We don't have to agree 100%. But yun, so that's the context of the conversation. Anyway, I'm going to have more articles coming on President Marcos' visit to the United States, on other issues involving, concerning our national interest. I do these writings because this is my way of getting my ideas out. This is my way of essentially building draft for my next book, hopefully on the Marcoses, God willing. I also bring out these ideas, mga kameta, because I want us to have a proper national discussion. So sana lang, hindi natin idaan ito sa mga name-calling, what are we, 12? Come on, guys. Yun lang. Alright. Mga kameta, don't worry, in an hour, so mag-gym muna ako. Naku, habulin natin. Baka malate tayo. So, tulog pa yata yung mga nasa San Francisco, but hopefully we'll be joined by Lelo Claudia later on. Tuloy natin itong usapan na to, President Marcos' visit to the White House, among other issues. Alright, mga kameta, Nexus Podcast naman yan. Kagabi naman yung kay Mark Gamboa. So, I hope you enjoy these discussions. And ayan, mga kameta, ayan, wag naman kayo bastusan dyan sa baba. Alright, guys? Chill lang. Ayan. Wag nyo na kawawain yung na yan, yung Alexander troll na yan. Ayan na. Yan kasi, di nakikinig sa akin yung mga troll. Huwag kayo mag-troll sa akin sa page ko kasi kawawa kayo dyan. Alright? Ay, nako. Hindi, sige. Ayan. Ayan na. Okay, magpakbait na ako, mga kameta. Thank you very much so much. Again, guys, ito na nga sabi ko kung may tamang ginawa. Ito, kahit pinapoint out natin tamang ginagawa ni BBM, ganyan na naman tayo. Sabihin na pinklawan, dilawan, mga ganyan. Kanensensan yan, mga kameta. Inatak na nga ako nung iba dyan dahil nga kinikriticize ko yung mga kakulangan ng opposition, etc. But anyway, also, mga kameta, please don't forget to watch again yung vlog natin on US dollar hegemony, BRICS currency. Pinaghirapan ko yan. You could see, medyo na-drain ako actually after that. Parang pagod ako afterwards. I was checking it out and listening to it again kanina to just make sure I went through the notes and all. Please check me that. It's essentially like a free lecture, mga kameta. And what I do is, after my discussion, I actually place there the readings, the sources, references, everything para you can do it on your own. Ang gusto lang natin mangyari dito, mga kameta, is public education. And for people to think on their own. Huwag kayo makinig sa akin. Just look at what I'm trying to share here and then decide on your own, mga kameta. Yun lang. Decide lang on your own. Tama na yan yung troll na yan. Ayan, yan. Sisikat pa yan. Alright. Kikita na naman yung mga yan. Kumita na naman yan ng 50 bang budget per Alright, mga kameta. Thank you very much. God bless and talk to you soon. Maraming salamat. Thank you very much again dun sa mga supporters din natin dito sa YouTube. Ayan, si Eric Padilla. Maraming salamat. God bless you. Thank you kay Grace TV. Yan, kay Ma'am Jocelyn. Akala ko si Ma'am Jocelyn, hindi ka na pwede ngayon. Busy ka. Si Suki. Good afternoon po. Thank you very much. Salamat ha. Thank you rin. Nakikita ko rin mga supporters natin dyan sa Facebook. Booyaka siya! Ayan, huwag nyo na may troll masyadong. Troll, tama na yan. Yeah. Yun lang sa mga troll, huwag kayong mais kayo, huwag kayong dito, magulo dito. Kawawa lang kayo dyan sa page ko. Alright. Huwag na tayo magbardago lang. Magpakabait na tayo. Thank you very much again, ha. Thank you kay Mike Rojas, kay Noemi Tablare, yan, the usual suspects. Andyan na naman. Thank you, guys. Talk to you again soon, ha. Share me later on. Share me. Join me later. Share me later. Oh my God. Join me later on, alright? As si paring Leloy Claudia. Habang tulog pa siya So mag-gym muna ako and then let's get back and let's have discussion. Alright? God bless. Thank you very much. And I really appreciate all the love and care and support. Maraming salamat. And please wag niyo i-forget yung mga ibang ginawa natin vlog ng pinaghirapan natin. Alright? Hindi naman pakit lang yun Alright? God bless. And as I said again, I gave due credit to everyone. To Amy Marcos when she made, I think, good interventions. To President Marcos Jr. when he made good readjustments. But at the same time, of course, I'm also very clear about my convictions and what I want for the country, a progressive future. All right? Thank you very much. God bless. Talk to you soon.